I mentioned wrestling a while back, though.
I'm not going to get the victory.
You weren't there. But.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, Toby.
All right, we're doing a summer 2023 summer edition open concept update with our team. So let's do some quick update. I'll start out with, not to brag or anything.
Come on.
We ended the year over an 11-day span, 20 games between softball and baseball. Max and Gwen did a great job. Great teams, great coaches. It was a lot of fun this year. So, but now the last couple weeks, it's been great. I finally opened up my grill that I've been hyped up about. Last night we had fajita bowls. The previous week, I call it just a taco bowl because I got fajita mix last night. So I don't know what difference it is, but that was great. I've been going to Fairway. A lot of times you might see us at the Smoky Row in Valley Junction. So Fairway, they're not a sponsor yet, but we got some meat there, and so I've been doing that. All right, so that's what's going on with me. Moncee, what's been going on with you this summer?
Summer is coming to an end and transitioning to fall, and fall means football season, so stay tuned for the next one. But summer, just came back from Panama, which was super exciting. I was able to visit my mom. I haven't seen her in 7 years, so that was great. And my kids were able to meet their grandma for the first time.
What was a big event that happened in Panama? Didn't you guys have a little party about an announcement?
Yeah, so my uncle had a 70th birthday party, so there was like 100 people there, family members I've never met in my life, but it was like basically everybody was cousins, which was great. Aunts, uncles, you didn't know who they were, but everybody was cousins. Anyways, in the middle of that, we also had a gender reveal because we are blessed to have our fourth one on the way and have 2 under 2. Not sure how that's going to work out with volleyball season, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, we had a pink debut, so that means we're going to have another girl, guys. So can't wait. Any other updates, you guys, for the summer?
I have a new hobby.
Okay.
I got big into kayaking lately.
Where's your go-to kayak place?
There's like a little lake in Colfax. That's really fun because it makes like a big sea. It is a little annoying because it doesn't make a full circle, so you have to like go to the sea and then like go back.
Okay.
But not a lot of people are there. It's really nice.
Nice.
It's relaxing. Nice little workout.
Talking about hobbies, Peter and I on Amazon Prime Day just got pickleball paddles. It's like the main thing other than we have an accepted offer on a house.
Woo!
So
Hey-o.
potentially, hopefully everything closes.
It's pending.
Yes,
Not
pending.
sold yet, but yes.
Correct.
Or closed.
But yeah.
No, that's good. So kind of what's going on in the Des Moines real estate market. The big thing about 2023, things have gotten a lot more normal. And I think that it's very important that you know what your value of your home is. There's some really good news right now that's going on. Right now, inflation's going down. And so because of that, there's some updated projections from the Buffini company and some national mortgage companies. There's just so much bad news and bad information right now that it's overwhelming and it's really hard to keep track of. But kind of some highlights there. Right now, it's looking like when the fourth quarter starts going that rates will start going down. And some analysis are thinking that in 2024 that rates might dip below 5%. And so if that happens, our Des Moines market is going to kind of go back from a good market to a hot market. I don't know if it'll get to white hot like it was during COVID, but it is so important that if you bought a house in the last 12 months that you're ready to go to refinance. We know lenders, if you are currently purchasing, I know some lenders are offering free refinancing. And so we're working that with our buyers right now that if you're looking to buy, that you just ask that question. That might save you $1,500 for refinancing. And I think what's really important is that if you are looking to buy, is that you are just buying a house that you can afford. That's the biggest thing. All right, in light of this, there's some buyers that are going to be there's going to be some more news coming out that, hey, rates are going to go down, and that might bring in more sellers wanting to sell and more buyers wanting to buy. So I thought we'd just spend a few minutes and talk about if you are thinking about wanting to buy and close out the year to buy a house, if that was your goal in 2023 or get a house at the beginning of 2024, what should you do? How to prepare to buy a house if you're thinking about buying a house in the next 3 to 6 months? What should you do?
Understand the process is important. So I think I would highly recommend you guys to reach out to us for a consultation, and again, it's free. We just ask for your time to be educated. I think that's step number one, because if you don't understand where to start or where the goal is or the plan to get to your goal, then you don't have a path anywhere. If you don't have a plan, there's no action to take place. That would be my step number one.
Absolutely. And there's 27 people that get paid in real estate transactions. So the biggest thing about the Home Buyer Consult, it's an overview of what the process looks like, and we get to learn about your goals, and then we try to be your advocate and help you guide you through the process. So first step, Home Buyer Consult. Number two, what should the next thing be after the consult?
You gotta get a budget. Here's the thing with the budget. It's very similar to if you've ever tried to lose weight, or if you ever tried to do some kind of goal you're training for. A lot of the actual hard stuff is just in the beginning. You need to do the heavy lifting up front, and by that you need to get organized, know all your income, know what you're spending, and that takes a little bit of time to get a good budget and do it well. But once you get a good budget, then you're good to go. One of my favorite quotes, that a budget is telling your money where to go instead of where it went. But yeah, make a budget, do it up front, find out what you gotta do, and then stick to it.
Yeah, convictions.
Absolutely.
That's important. That's great.
Yeah, I think the big thing is step one is the Home Buyer Consult that gives you confidence to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like on the journey. And the second thing is the budget gives you confidence what you can afford. And knowledge is power. And so it's really important to get that budget going. What's the next thing you should do after those two steps?
Yeah, the next thing, especially if you're renting an apartment or something like where Peter and I are at, it depends and kind of fluctuates from place to place, but it's to figure out your rental agreement and if you can break your lease or what that kind of looks like. I know for us, we have 3 different options that we could do. One is we could do a buyout option and just pay for part of the lease up front since we would get out early. Second option was to sublease it, and we find a subleaser and pay a small fine. Third option was we sublease it, but the complex takes care of finding a person. But if they don't find a person, then we're stuck paying all the rent and the fine. Yeah, it really just depends on place to place. But you want to figure out your rental agreement and if that's even an option of breaking your lease early and what that looks like.
Just dig into it, because that helps you develop a timeline.
Yeah.
If your goal is to buy a house and you want to be specific on timelines. So if you know your lease agreement, that's good. And dig into it, because it may not be as bad as you think.
Right.
The key thing is after you close on a house, your first payment is 2 name months after you close. So if you know that, it's very unlikely you're going to do double payments. And sometimes, if you're a first-time home buyer, that it's kind of nice to have 3 weeks, 4 weeks overlap, because if you want to do improvements like new flooring, new paint, it's nice to kind of use that lease that way. And it's nice because when you live in a project, the project goes really slow, but if you can gear up for your time and energy, you go there, do the job, go home, that's great. So, okay, so figure out your timeline, which that means your rental agreement. When does the lease end, and what does it take to get out of it? What's the next step?
Next one is, I think, is probably one of the most important steps outside of the buyer consult, to be perfectly honest with you guys. It is a pre-approval. If you come to one of our buyer consults, I will always tell you that this is going to be your keys to the car, and the car is the next home or your current home. So we don't have the keys, which is a pre-approval. You don't know what you can afford, and you don't know what the monthly payment is, which is more important, is affordability, because anybody can afford $300,000-$400,000 home potentially, but if your monthly payment is not doable, then guess what? You should not buy a $300,000-$400,000 home, or even a $200,000 home. I don't know. But again, this is get in front of a pre-approval and get in front of a loan officer is key, which we can also help with that as well.
Yeah.
And we would love to help with that, just because we've dealt with them every day, so it's important.
I heard a loan officer recently say their job is to save spouses from divorcing each other. And they're a loan officer, but that was their job. Why is that? Because you want to buy a house you can afford. And so you want to plan ahead. So that's why budget's so important. You gotta know what you want to do, and you have to understand when you hire a buyer's agent, you want someone that's going to work on your behalf and have your best interests in mind in light of your goals. We do the best that we can. You know, in my career, I've showed over 10,000 properties. I've seen a lot, and so I tried. And then the team I've been training, and they have their own experience that we just try to do the best we can to help you and be your advocate and help. Let's say you're looking to buy a house in 6 months. It might be worth it to do your pre-approval within a month. Why? Because they pull your credit. And sometimes your credit may not be as good as you think. And in my instance, when I graduated, I had so much debt. I had all these small private loans. Well, one of them was my least amount of debt. It was like a $4,000 loan. Well, guess what? I didn't know about it. I was a young, stupid kid. I was behind by 8 months. So my credit score was 600, and it was bad. It was only $50 a month. I've been paying that, but I just was an irresponsible young kid. So be easy on yourself. So if you have bad credit and you learn early in the process, let's say you want to buy in 6 months, well, what can you do to boost your credit score?
Yeah. So I think the big thing is just knowing what you're actually getting by getting a higher credit score, right? So what it is it's the bank or the lender just saying, hey, the higher credit score, the more likely you are to actually pay it, the more we can take this risk by giving you this money. And so by doing that, you know exactly where to go with the information. Honestly, the easiest way is just to go to a lender, go to a loan officer. That's why, as you were talking about before, like going to people who we trust, who we work with all the time, and they work it through really easy. It's like pretty simple actually. Like they'll just go through a list with you, and they'll say, okay, well you got these debts, you got these credits. Here's how you can repay it, and they'll give you a plan to work through. And it's like very, very helpful. So if you're behind on credit card payments, okay, you got to do this, or you got to pay it down to this amount. And sometimes it's not as easy as just, okay, I'm going to pay off all my debt right away. Because sometimes your credit will actually go higher if you leave like $300 left on the account, or just stuff like that. So like, long story short, the easiest way is just talk to a lender, and they will walk you through how to build your credit. The easiest way.
The good ones, per se.
Yeah, the good ones. And then like, you know, with these conversations with lenders, I have attended many times these pre-approval meetings, and our team will go there. And so we've seen everything. Unfortunately, it's like we've seen everything. And when you work with us, it's confidential, so don't be embarrassed. It's like we've all been there. Like life is messy, but don't be afraid. And if you don't know how to do it, like we will help you with that. And if you end up not buying a house, that's fine. But if you need help, like we don't care. What we care about is giving life to our community and helping people, and have knowledge is power. So let's wrap it up really quick. So we kind of determined 5 very high level things. If you're thinking about buying a house the next 3 to 6 months, what are the 5 things you should do? Step 1, home buyer consult. We'll give you an overview of what it looks like to buy a house, but also discuss an introduction to how to build a budget. What's the next thing you should do? Create your own personal budget. Number 3, figure out your bandwidth. Like when can you buy a house? So that look at your lease agreement. When does that expire? What are the penalties of breaking that early? 4, get pre-approved. And that's really important. Get pre-approved so you can understand where you stand, and if you need to rebuild your credit, you can do that. And then I guess the last step is just continue to preserve your credit and don't make any irresponsible things. And if you need to rebuild it, you rebuild it. So guard your credit with that. The average buyer, from when they start looking at, from being approved and start looking to actually closing on a house, our average buyer over the last 13 years has been 8 to 10 weeks. So if your lease is up on December 31st, you probably should start looking middle of September. And then in the meantime, between now and September, think about doing these things. It's never too early to plan ahead, especially with home buying. If rates are going to dip and go lower, there's going to be more competition and multiple offers. Don't let that scare you from buying a house. If this makes sense for you, preparation is key. Please reach out if you got any questions. Good work, team.